Start your livers. I got my cocktail ready and it's time to start this party. Countdown, going down in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
A little ordinary? Is it lacking something awesome? Well, head out to your local liquor store and pick up something extraordinary. Grab a bottle of Old Humble Straight Whiskey or Old Humble Special Reserve. They're clean, smooth, easy drinking whiskeys that taste the way whiskey should taste. From humble beginnings to an extraordinary finish, Old Humble whiskeys are what your bar needs today. Walk tall, be awesome, and drink humble. Old Humble Straight Whiskey and Old Humble Special Reserve. Get yours today.
That's right, everybody. Get yours today. And you can get it today. You can get it online. OldHumbleDistilling.com/shop online. You can get yours today and you can get it online. I am the Old Humble Guy. Thanks for joining us today on our Wednesday happy hour. I do appreciate the company. As always, let's see here. There, fix that. So who am I? What do? I am the Old Humble Guy, and I make whiskey here at the Old Humble Distilling Company. We make fine whiskeys like our Boomtown Bourbon, which is our opening shot. Gonna have a little bit of Boomtown Bourbon. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Cheers to you fine folks. May the road always rise up to meet your feet and the wind always be at your back. Ah, delicious. Absolutely fantastic. That is our flagship bourbon, our Boomtown Bourbon, a craft bourbon made right here in the great state of Texas. Heavy weighted on the corn, light weighted on the rye to give it a smoother, lighter flavor. Much easier drinking whiskey than what you typically get from places like, I don't know, Kentucky or whatever. And it is available online, OldHumbleDistilling.com/shop online. Use the coupon code MAKEIT2 and you get 2 bottles delivered with no shipping. If you just want to buy the 1 bottle, you're gonna have to pay shipping. But if you get 2 bottles, it is free shipping if you use the code MAKEIT2. I'm gonna ask John to get that into chat. Maybe find that website and get in chat so people can just find it, link it, and go. Meanwhile. I got a big deal coming up. Where's it at? Mine. Here it is. Here it is. I got my calendar of events right here in my hot little hand. My calendar of events includes all the places that I'm going to be this month. The place I'm going to be this month are mostly Texas. Our world tour kicks off this Saturday with a special event. What is that? That is the link to the website. Go to the website. It's on the website. This Saturday we have a special event at the Match Theater, which is a taping for Slade Ham's comedy special. We're going to be doing a promo at the bar at that theater. Then I am on the road starting Monday, going to the southeast side of town, and Tuesday the far west side of town, being Houston, Texas. The Tuesday being the far west side of town. Wednesday, I am taking the day off, but one of my associates is going to be in the Woodlands, which is the north side of town. And then, can I pin this? Nope. Farts. All right, maybe I can do it this way. No, can I do it this way? Pin. No, I can't. Oh, there it is. Pin that message. Pin it up there, baby. All right, message is pinned from my good man, John Longshanks there. Then Thursday, I will be in Willowbrook Mall myself. And then I take Friday off. And then Saturday, I am in Euless, Texas, which is near Fort Worth. the first road portion of this road trip, the world tour. And then Monday, the 28th, I will be in Dallas, doing two stores in Dallas, Texas. These are all tastings and demos. An associate of mine will be here in Humboldt, Texas. Then I'll be out in Pearland on the south side of town, the West University and central part of town, and Austin on the 31st of August. And that wraps up the August leg of our world tour. The September leg of our world tour kicks off on the 2nd with one of my associates up here in Kingwood. And then I am literally on the road from the 5th of September until the 23rd of September at various stores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 days. And it looks like it's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 stores in 17 days. September is going to be cuckoo bird crazy, and I'm also doing 4 shows. Speaking of 4 shows, y'all might have noticed something at the top of this live stream when you tuned in. I saw a casino app advertisement, some game casino, something or another. You know what that means? That means we crossed the monetization threshold. Woo! Yay! Which leads us to our first big announcement that you're going to get right here live on this channel, this stream right now. We're reintroducing our free whiskey, our whiskey giveaway starting tonight. We're reintroducing our whiskey giveaway. Get your name over here in chat, wherever it's at on your screen, or whether it's down here or over here. Get your name in chat. I will write down your name. I will put you on the list. You will be in chat. If you want to get an extra entry in chat, or an extra entry on the Wheel of Doom and Glory, you can get your name on a second time in a night with a $5 super chat. Every $5 super chat gets your name on the wheel again and again and again and again. At the end of September, I am going to spin that wheel, and someone's going to win a sample pack of our whiskeys. You're going to get a sample of our straight whiskey, special reserve, double oak rye, and Boomtown bourbon, and it will be delivered to your door in any state in the continental or disassociated United States. Alaska and Hawaii are included because UPS ships there. I have my notebook. I have my notebook and my pen, and I have already written down the first name of the giveaway event, and that is Tater Dom. John, well, I'll add John Longshanks too because I know he's a mod. I don't know if he counts. No, just Tater Dom. Tater Dom is first. And again, for every $5, I should probably write that down in chat. For every $5 super chat we get, you get entered onto the wheel again. I'll be here for like 3 hours. You can get as many super chats in as you want. But I'm actually going to do another video on that, not tonight, probably tomorrow night. Do a special video announcing the free whiskey or the whiskey giveaway. I guess it's a free whiskey giveaway if you're getting entries in for $5 a piece, but it's an entry. It's a whiskey giveaway. So I'll do the announcement for the 2024 whiskey giveaway. We haven't given away whiskey since September last year, I think. I'm pretty sure September last year was the last time we gave away whiskey, so this is gonna be fun. We were doing it with trivia last year. We're not going to be doing it with trivia this year. We're just going to be doing a straight up super chats. Straight up, is that available on the online? Yeah, it's right there. Super chats. Super chats, super stickers. Every $5 you contribute to the cause will get your name onto the wheel of Doom and Glory. The Wheel of Doom and Glory, we will spin it at the end of September. So you have the rest of August. What is that? 2-3 shows in August. And then, 4 shows in September. So it'll be either the last weekend or the last Wednesday of September, or the first or the last Thursday of September, or the first week of October when we spin the Wheel of Doom and Glory. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna get that sample pack. I'm gonna make the box, make everything set up, and ship out that whiskey. It's gonna be dope as hail. All right, so that's that. Let's see here. Free whiskey giveaway, monetization. Super chats and what super chats will get you, and then the road show information. I even made like a concert poster. Let me see if I can find it. Is this it? Browse. Is that the one? Is that the concert poster? Let me see. Yeah, look at that. My Boomtown Bourbon World Tour. Check it out. Going all in. Oops. Open up, open up, open up. Make it bigger. Wham! All shows at 5 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Boomtown Bourbon World Tour. So rocking. I love that poster. I love this graphic. I absolutely love this graphic. Uh, our Boomtown Bourbon World Tour. So, the topic of the show tonight. So, this is how the format of the show goes. For people who are new here, for people who haven't visited yet, and we have several new people here because there it is, 2,240. Last week it was 2,220. We have plenty of new folks joining us, at least in the sub count. We are actually probably closer to 250 than 240. Let me see. Where are we at? 243? Yeah, we're at 248. If hopefully it's possible. I don't know. I would love to see that flip from 240 to 250 during the show. That would be dope as hell. But the topic for tonight's show was it was kicked off by just a throwaway statement that I made on Bacon Stream last week. Bacon Stream last week. He was talking about something about music, blah blah blah, and I tossed out the statement, just a throwaway chat statement, that the 1990s was the last best music decade, and the 1990s was arguably the best music decade ever. And I have stats and data to back that up. But it's the last great music decade. Since the 1990s, we've had homogenized music, and it's going to be another 40 or 50 years, possibly before we have another decade even remotely as good as the 1990s. And that's not just nostalgia speaking, people. But the reason that it became a whole topic was because I said that, and then one of the people on his panel said, yeah, they had grunge in the 1990s. Like, and I was thinking about it like the next day. I was thinking about that. Like, yeah, we had grunge in the 1990s, but we also had heavy metal and hair bands and ska, and we had EDM and dance, and we had house music, and we had Texas funk, Texas rockabilly. We had boy bands. We had the sound coming out of Wisconsin. We had Philly. We had Motown. Detroit. We had sound coming from all corners of the country, not just grunge. And this was what was great about the 1990s. It was a wide open, diverse, broad-based music scene all across the country. You'd have groups leaving their region and coming down to Texas on festival tours. But it wasn't just that. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's do the history. Let's take a walk back through history real quick. All right. I'm jumping into this a little bit early, but it's a big topic. I want to talk about this, like the full spectrum of this, because it's a big topic. There's a lot to discuss with regards to this music. Starting off, let's take a step back in time. Right, the 1940s and 1950s did not have much of a. They weren't considered a big decade for music. The 40s and 50s were not considered a big decade, right? And there's a reason for that. Prior to the 40s, prior to the 60s, the 1940s and 1950s, there was no such thing as kids. There was no such thing as childhood. There was no such thing as teenage years. You were a baby, and then when you ceased to be a baby, you were working. And that was it. That was it. You didn't have leisure time. You didn't have time off. You didn't have vacation time. You were a child. You were a child because you were unable to work. But as soon as you were able to work, you were going to work. That was it. And what changed was World War II. Well, the Great Depression. World War II changed all that because the soldiers went off to war, and when they came back, we had strong unions. We had the soldiers going back to college. We had this big damn baby boom, right? And all through the 1950s, this wad of kids was growing up. People moved out to the suburbs. People had disposable cash. We had this huge middle class of people, and we had this excess of leisure time For the first time in the history of our country, we had this class of citizens that were just kids. They had no specific responsibility. They had access to automobiles. They had their job was to go to school, get educated, grow up, and get jobs. That was their job for all of the night, for the 40s and late 40s, going into the 50s. These kids were growing up. By the time they get into the 60s, they're the first ones are turning 14, 15, 16 years old in the early part of the 60s. By the mid 60s, the first cohort of these kids are hitting 17 years old and adulthood. That's when you start getting music made by kids for kids. That's the last of the 1950s adult packaged music. If you look at the musical stars from the 1950s, they're all adults. They're all like in their 40s and 50s. They're all grown-ass adults making music for other adults. The first time in our country's history when you have kids making music for kids to consume is in the mid 1960s. Mid 1960s, kids making music for kids to consume, and you see a distinct change in the culture or the musical culture in the United States in the early 1960s, 62, 63, 64. You see a distinct change. Distinct change. That's when the Beatles come over. That's when music just completely revolutionizes, completely changes. That's also when, for the first time, you have kids who are legitimately kids, fully formed. They're what would formerly be known as young adults. They're still considered young adults, but they're now teenage kids. Teenagers as a group of kids didn't exist before the early 1960s. Okay. So the 1960s is when you get this explosion of music on the scene. Rock and roll, jazz, blues, all this stuff that gets just exploded out onto the scene. Go through the 1960s, it gets, the youth culture develops and grows. You have your hippies, you have your the counterculture, you have all the shit that was going on in the mid and late 60s. All of that's going on, and then you move into the 1970s. The 1970s is when the studios kind of start to try and get their hands around this music, and they start trying to monetize this music, and they start trying to learn how to grow and corporatize this music. Corporatize, is that a word? Professionalize this music production system all through the 1970s. All through the 1970s, you start getting this. It's not so much formulaic, but this is when you start they start really beginning to take this youth voice and packaging it up to sell it and monetizing the sound. That's the story of music in the 1970s. Again, a great decade for music. The 1960s was a fantastic decade for music. It was amazing. It was revolutionary. The 1970s was another fantastic decade. That's when disco moves from the gay clubs and the black subculture out into, it takes 7 years, but it moves out into the mainstream over the course of 7 years until like 1977. Your rock kind of transforms into disco, more disco-y, grows. It grows, and you have like more tendrils flying off. Your country music, your rock and roll, your American folk, your jazz, your blues, your blues rock combo, all this stuff like floating together and merging together and making these beautiful, awesome sounds that you can't really put your finger on, but it's really awesome. And the only real way you can kind of put your finger on it is go, that's just bell bottom rock, and it's just dope as hell. That's the 1970s. And then in the late 1970s, you have this backlash against disco because there's a whole story behind that, but it's like it was a macho backlash against the gay minority disco stuff. That's a whole nother discussion to be had. But backlash against disco in the late 1970s, and it just like dies like overnight almost. You have the death of disco, the blowing up of the disco records, radio stations converting back to rock and roll, all this stuff. And you still have some hybrid groups like Kiss, that's kind of rock disco, Queen, all these other. But regardless, the end of the 70s, disco's dead, and then we come into the 80s, and the 80s is just this weird time where you had this genre that was just this genre of music that was everywhere, and it goes away, and then there's a vacuum, and that vacuum gets filled with all these other weird, wild techno sounds that come in the early and mid part, the early part of the 80s. And the 80s is when we have the rise of these super groups that were around in the mid 70s, and they just like blow up, and they're legendary. This is where we have Def Leppard coming into their own, and Aerosmith coming into their own. A lot of them collapsed under the weight of their own fame, but they reconstitute and they get better and they get amazing. And you still have the Who, and you have McCartney, and you have the Eagles, and you have all these huge super groups like coming into their own in the 1980s, right? Okay. Michael Jackson hits the stage as Michael Jackson, not just Michael Jackson, the Jackson Five. He's Michael freaking Jackson, right? And he grows up into the 1986 was one of the most iconic chart topping years for number one hits. We may never have a year like 1986 again. It was stunning how awesome the 80s was as a decade for music, as music was maturing. And these are sounds that we still hear today, music that we still hear today. It's iconic. Iconic. MTV came to be. And MTV did a really good job in the 1980s of showcasing regional music. That's when hip hop came into its own. That's when the East Coast and West Coast sounds really grew into a thing. That's when you have your first, well, the growth of the hair bands and the first like real separation of West Coast and East Coast rock and roll. And the same way you have West Coast and East Coast rap and hip hop today. And it continues to grow. And then we get into the 90s. The 90s. In the 90s, we still have all the same super groups from the 1980s and 1970s and 1960s. We still have the Who. We still have Def Leppard. We still have Phil Collins is still kicking it. We have Elton John still doing his thing. We have Michael from Wham. Michael what's his face from Wham. We have Michael Jackson is still kicking it in the early part of the 90s. We have all of these just huge mega. Cher has come back into the 90s. Just these huge megastars, Quiet Riot, Metallica, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, all of these bands. You know, you can just whip off the names right off the top of your head because you know these huge supergroups too. But the 1990s, despite the existence of dozens of supergroups touring, selling out stadiums, the 1990s still had more one-hit wonders than any other decade ever in the history of the universe. More one-hit wonders in the 1990s. And what does that tell you? That tells you that despite these huge supergroups still making music, still soaking up all the oxygen, still running the charts and still selling out stadiums and still having legions and legions and legions of fans, we still were able to have groups come up with unique sounds, different sounds from different regions and percolate their way up onto a national scene, have a moment, top the charts, and then they're done and they go off and start selling insurance. They get a second record. They're not that great. They go off and sell some insurance or whatever, tiling floors or renovating houses or whatever the hell they do now these days. I mean, they didn't just poof vanish. They did things. They made their music. They had their thing. They had their moment in their 20s. You know, they made their hundreds of thousands of dollars and then they're done. And part of that is because there was enough of a diversity in the markets for the different regions. There was enough of a diversity in the market for different sounds, and there was enough crossover in these markets that you could move from Philly to Georgia to Baton Rouge to Texas and Indianapolis, and you could make your way around the country, and these bands would perform for years. And then finally hit it. I mean, Kid Rock had, I think, 3 records before he finally hit it big with his eponymous record, Kid Rock, or American Badass, when he finally hit it big. Guns N' Roses. Their inaugural record was out for, I think, a year, 2 years before it blew up. Fine Young Cannibals was out there for 2 years before their sound blew up. Like all these bands were out there working. They were out there working their asses off in order to get discovered and become one hit or overnight sensations. They were working for 3, 4, 5 years to become overnight sensations, touring and doing the things. And there was enough of a market, there was enough of a segmentation of the market where you have your local, your regional, your super local, your regional, your statewide, your regional, the growth of the tours that you could get on different scales and different sizes of tours, and you didn't have to do it all yourself. It wasn't just a nothing or everything type of proposition. And then stuff changed. Viacom bought MTV. MTV's platform changed when they introduced the Real World for the first time. They introduced Real World for the first time, and then Viacom discovered, hey, we can make money off of doing stuff that's not music videos. MTV was bought by Viacom, and Viacom decided to monetize the station, and they left their initial platform choice of playing music videos, music TV, MTV videos, music videos. It was an opportunity to democratize sound and have a forum where sound from all over the country could join in and be heard and be shared and be seen, and that went away. That was one of the things. Another of the things that changed in the 1990s was Telecommunications Act of 1996. I said this in the short video that I posted out. But that wasn't the thing that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back, but that wasn't the biggest deal. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 basically eliminated the restrictions on consolidation of radio stations in markets across the country. Prior to 1996, a company could only own 40 radio stations and could not own more than 2 in a market. Now, in major markets, you have three corporations owning 80% of the market. Of the 14,000 or so, almost 15,000 or so radio stations across the entire United States, 20% of them are owned by 4 companies. And of those 20% of those radio stations, those 20% of radio stations that are owned by those 4 or 5 companies, they control over 70% of the ear market for sound. In some cases, they control 3 or 4 stations in the same city. Like in a place like the city of Houston, there are 4 or 5, I think there's 4 radio stations that own, or 4 radio companies that own 10 radio stations in town. And they're all different formats. You know, you have your classic rock, which is 80s and 90s. God damn it. Music from my youth. It used to be the 60s was classic rock. But you have your new country, classic rock, alt rock, which is very similar to the classic rock. It kind of comes out of the same region or the same sound at the same time. And then two or three AM radio stations, and then another FM station, the classic country probably. So that could be 6 radio stations owned by one company. And I believe 4 companies own 10 or 12 stations in the city of Houston alone. At least that many. And that's just on the FM dial, not counting the AM dial. And then you throw in the apps, you throw in all the other stuff. They control a significant portion of the audio market. And as far as the market that's controlled, 60% of the market will be controlled by 2 radio stations in a city, in a major city like the city of Houston. And Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Fort Worth, that is between these 4 or 3 major metros. You got 6 here, 6 there, and there's 35 million people in the state of Texas. Between our 3, there's half the population of the state is in these 3. Actually, 2/3 of the population of the state is in these 3 major metros. Our radio attention span is controlled by 4 companies in the state of Texas. So that is drastically different than how it was in the 1990s. Because in the 1990s, that would be, you know, the four companies would own no more than eight radio stations each, and those two radio stations that each individual company owned couldn't have more than 60% of the market share in that city. So it's a big difference. It's a big difference. But that's not that's not the big evil. The big evil is not the Telecommunications Act by itself. Because what happens in industries that get consolidated, this happened in my former industry in the funeral home and cemetery industry. It happens in the restaurant industry. It happens in the hotel industry. It happens in any industry where it's ripe for consolidation. You have a business that generates a lot of profit, but not a lot of cash, or it generates a lot of revenue, but not a lot of profit. You know, there's like high margins because they got to maintain their towers and they got to maintain. There's a lot of overlapping infrastructure. You got to maintain an antenna. Every single radio station has to maintain an antenna. Well, if you own a bunch of radio stations, y'all can all have the same antenna, right? You can cut costs that way. You can cut costs. You can save money. You can consolidate and conserve expenses. And what happened in the going through the 80s and going into the 90s, there was a consolidation of wealth. There was less cash sloshing around, and in order to monetize their asset, they were willing to sell. And if they were able to sell to a company with big, deep pockets, they sold to a company with big, deep pockets. So it was also a structural problem. The Telecommunications Act, the structural problem, the economic structural problem, but also just the general, the broader economic structural problem of the economy, but also the specific structural problem of the industry itself, where you had the overlapping costs and the overlapping infrastructure and everybody having to. And it's the same way with cell phones. You know, you have AT&T and Verizon and all these people with different towers. They just have one tower and different things on the same tower. They rent the tower from some other company or whatever it is. I don't know specifically how they do it, but that's how it was done in the cemetery industry. You buy up a bunch of funeral homes and they all share a crematorium. They'd all share the embalming room. They'd all share one cemetery, and you have a bunch of funeral homes in one cemetery, as opposed to one funeral home, one cemetery, one funeral home, one cemetery, one funeral. That's inefficient. That's one of the reasons why the industry consolidated the way it did. It's one of the many reasons why the industry consolidated the way it did. But also the Telecommunications Act allowed it. So one part of the problem was that the radio stations were begging for this law to change, but the other part of it was the money was all too willing to let it happen. So that was another thing that changed in the industry. You had MTV changing their format, Telecommunications Act, concentration of wealth, and the just the structural problem in the economy and the industry. But finally, the other thing that helped to kill music development as we know it is the rise of the internet. Oh, but the days before the internet, before websites and music sharing systems. The first music sharing system was Napster. Napster was going to democratize how we traded music. You had to record it onto a tape, and I could bring you my mixtape and hear some great music. I can't tell you how many records I had that were burned to a tape cassette so that I could listen to them in my car. I can't tell you how many of my friends' tapes I borrowed and copied. I know it's not legal, but I was 17 and I was broke, so I borrowed music. I mean, he already paid for it. I was just, borrowing it myself. But then Napster made it so that you could just make digital copies and just have digital. Well, they got sued, or he got sued. That dude got, but that whole time and space, that whole period of time, almost brought the music company down because Sony is out there suing teenagers for $20,000 for copying music. That was in the late 1990s and early 2000s. No more. No more. The rise of iTunes made it so that digital music could be uh, uh, stored and shared and swapped for a fee. And it couldn't be copied because it had a license attached to it and it was safe. That helped reduce cut back the democratization of music from the 1990s. And you'll note, since the 1990s, the emphasis has gone less on musicianship and more towards performance. Look at the artists that rose up in the late 1990s and are still going strong today. Britney Spears. She has a show in Vegas now. Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez. These are performers rather than musicians. These are performers over artists. These are people who put on a good show. They look good on stage. They lip sync. They dance. They do all this stuff. These were TikTok stars before TikTok was TikTok. They get on stage. They dance. They lip sync. Their music is auto-tuned. Their voice is auto-tuned. Everything is artificial. It's all based on the performance and not based on the actual show, the actual music. And that's the biggest difference between the 1990s and today. And that's why today we don't have the same type of musical, just musical, amazing musical landscape that we had just 25 years ago. It's all changed. It's all changed. The 1990s was the last great decade for music. And this is not a debatable point. It's an empirical fact. And that's not to say that we don't have great performers now. We don't have great artists now. I mean, Kesha, that dude, and that other dude. We have great producers. We have great vocalists. We have great performers. Maroon 5, that guy. Um, Adam Levine, that's the word. That's the name I'm thinking of. Great performer. We have OK Go. We have a bunch of great performers. I mean, Jesus, what's her name? He was just on tour. What's her name? Taylor Swift. One of the best performers in the history. She's a national treasure. And by the way, we're going to totally get back together. She's a national treasure. Absolutely amazing performer. Absolutely amazing artist. She writes some of her songs. She performs all of her. She's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Not the same. Not the same as a band that has a guitar and I mean Stevie Ray Vaughan sang and played a guitar at the same time. And I'm sure she can play a guitar. I'm sure she can play piano. I'm pretty sure she's done it on stage. We know Lizzo is a fantastic vocalist. She's ridiculously athletic considering the size of her frame. She's a musical performer. She can actually perform with instruments. Fantastic. Now, I don't want to discount what they do. They do great stuff. They do absolutely fantastic stuff. But long gone are the days of a band that gets on stage and has pyrotechnics and does the thing and fills up a stage with a show that's the stage and isn't somebody who has their show on a big screen and they're performing to the big screen. And that's a big difference. Long gone are those days. And I don't expect we're going to get those back anytime soon. So there you go. That's the thesis. That's the argument. That's the monologue. And I will die on this hill. I will 100% die on this hill. That the 1990s was and it's not just nostalgia. It's not just an old man shaking his fist, telling the damn kids to get off his lawn. They can be on. Well, they can't. I don't want to mow my lawn right now because it's brittle and it's dying because it hasn't rained in Texas since like the 1960s. But it's been 100 degrees. Oh, Jesus, the weather this morning was absolutely beautiful. It was 79 degrees when I woke up this morning. But the weather's been brutal the last month. It's hot. It's been dry. The grass is dying. The grass is just gray or brown and dying. It's brittle. It looks like hay. So seriously, stay off my lawn. But not because you're kids, just because the lawn is having trouble. This is not a damn you kids, stay off my lawn, old man rant. Music is not empirically is not as good as it was in the 1990s. And that changed in the late 1990s. Between 1996 and 1998, that changed. absolutely did 100% change. And again, not to say that we don't have great artists today, because we do have great artists today. It's just the breadth and depth and just the landscape of variety that we had in the 1990s. And we had Philly and boy bands and ska. We had ska music in the 90s. We had swing music that did a thing in the 90s. We had, name a flavor of music. Big band shit rose its head in the 90s for a weekend. We had all kinds of different stuff raising its head, having its moment, having a time. And there's only 52 weeks in a year. And we had at least 9, 10 different sounds rising up to the top of the billboard. At least. That's a huge variety. And we're talking Philly and grunge coexisting at the same time. We had a nascent rap scene and hip hop scene existing at the same time as Aerosmith and Metallica. We had Run DMC charting at the same time Aerosmith was charting. They collaborated and did a thing together. That was in the 80s, but they were still doing stuff together in the 90s. Insanity. Never see that type of thing again. Never see that thing again. Certainly not in the current decade we're in now. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. More one-hit wonders in the 1990s than ever before. And we had supergroups touring at the same time, making new music at the same time. I mean, Def Leppard came out with 2 albums in the 1990s. 2! Are you kidding me? Come on. Anyway, that's all. That's all I want. That's all I got to say about that. Let's get on with the show. I see people are joining us in chat. Mr. Jiggs is here. Who else is here? Sunflowers is here. Cheers, Sunflowers. I will reiterate what I said at the top of the show. Everybody in chat will be entered into our drawing at the end of September. And every live show that you get in on chat, you will be entered. You can only get one free entry in chat over there. One free entry, but if you want to get more entries, for the low price of $5, you can add your name to chat. For the low price, because we got super chats now, baby. Yo, I got monetized. There's my M. What? Yes, we passed the mark. Sometime over the weekend, we passed the mark. I got monetized. I'm super duper excited about it. It's super duper exciting. I've been filling out the forms, clicking all the boxes, making sure that we're all set up and ready to go for this. I believe it was on the 9th or 10th, maybe the 11th. I can't remember exactly, but I think I got the email on Sunday or Monday, letting me know that I am eligible and I did all the stuff I needed to do. And then I got the email on Monday or Tuesday. Monday. I got the email on Monday confirming that I was all set. So I'm super duper excited. This is great. I could not be more excited. So, for the low price of $5, put down a super chat, $5, you get your name added to the wheel again. So, we've got Jigs and Dom and Sunflowers all on the wheel right now. We're going to run this through the end of August. And there's going to be more opportunities. I'm going to do a video. Anybody who gets in chat on that video. The same way I did it back the last time we did a giveaway. Get into chat, participate in the show, get into chat. But now we've added the extra bonus feature of super chats. Back then it was trivia. You'd get points for trivia every time you got a point in trivia. You would get a name, but instead of trivia, now it's super chats. You just drop in $5 and you're good. You're good to go. So $5 gets you an extra spot on the wheel. And I will be doing a video announcement of our whiskey giveaway. The giveaway will be a 4-pack of our samplers. It'll be our straight whiskey, special reserve, double oak, and Boomtown bourbon, our 4 sample bottles that will be delivered to you by our good friends at UPS. So, be awesome. get into chat, drop a super chat, and then we'll go from there. We will go from there. We'll spin the wheel on either the last show of September or on a special show at the end of September or the beginning of October. The Backstreet Boys were indeed awesome. They were one of the super groups that rose up in the late 80s and early 90s. And we're going to join our chat in process over here. Fantastic. Open up my chat window there. So where we got? Up here is the last save. All that great music. Now we have mumble rap. Oh, mumble rap isn't all bad. Some of it's actually pretty damn good. Dom, come on. See, that's an old man comment. That's a kids get off my lawn comment. I mean, some of it's. Oh, I forgot about the Houston. What was it? The cut and screwed or chopped and screwed sound that was coming out of Houston in the 90s. Oh my God, the purple stuff. The DJ Screw and those guys coming out of Houston. Not my thing, but it was just absolutely awesome as far as the sound goes. Sunflower says she'll be here soon. Awesome. Cheers, Mr. Jigs. Those days are gone. Just the ones putting their shows on our age. Oh, well, there's a lot of folks putting on shows that are in their 40s. Thank you very much. I'm in my 40s. Not 1940s, just 40s. I would like to remind people that you can find us on Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and TikTok. But I have been focusing a lot of my energy and time on YouTube. So there's that. The Backstreet Boys are, in fact, awesome. 100%. If this dang kids are going to be on my lawn, they might as well mow it. Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. I agree. It is exceptionally hot in this room. It's not usually this hot. Something might be going on with my AC. Pardon me. Pardon me a second while I wipe my brow. My wife had COVID earlier this week or last week. I hope she's not doing that. So I have some structural things I need to do with the channel. I need to redo my trailers for my live shows. I need to record some commercials. Making a new sponsor video at the beginning of the show. Hit up the Ad Twins. Have them do another quick vid. And I'm gonna get a new computer. I'm gonna get a new computer, a proper desktop computer, not a laptop computer. This is going to continue to be my work computer that I use at the distillery, but I will add, or back and forth between the distillery, but I'm going to add a proper desktop computer into the mix with a proper video card and proper graphics engine so that I can do better shows, possibly even edited content. And if you watched last week's show, you know that we have a movie concept in the works, something that we're working on called Whiskey Run. And if you didn't see it this week, you got to go back to last week's show and get a look at it because I talked out the whole plot. I talked the whole damn thing out. I sketched it out in my notebook. It'll 100% fit in 18 episodes of 4 to 5 minutes each. It's going to start off a little bit slow, but then it's going to get cray as we progress into episode 6, 7, and then on into 18. I'm still not 100% sure how we end it. Haven't figured that out yet, but you know, I've made a couple of modifications since last week, and now it's just a matter of actually writing the show and doing the stuff. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It'll probably be something that happens after the Space Whiskey. The Space Whiskey is going to be tentatively scheduled for next summer. Space Whiskey is tentatively scheduled for next summer, but the Whiskey Run movie will be possibly the summer following. So it'll possibly be 2 years, but we may switch those two things in their sequencing and do the Space Whiskey following the Whiskey Run movie. Maybe in order to get the funding for the movie, we'll do a Patreon, or maybe we'll do a Kickstarter, or maybe we'll do something Something along those lines. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But it would be cool if we get some crowdfunding, crowdsourced funding for that type of thing. Um, but we'll see. We will see in the fullness of time how we pull this thing together. I do, for what it's worth, have a early day tomorrow, so we're not going to be doing this for 6 hours. I'm going to be wrapping this up around midnight. So we have 3 entries right now for the drawing. An hour? It's a little bit more than an hour and a half. And I am doing some math real quick. Yeah. Divided by. All right, so bear with me while I do math. And then next up, okay, so next up is the road show. Do I have the, oh, where are my graphics? What's this? There's my graphic for that. Where's my graphic for the map? What happened to it? Where is my, huh, sub today? Oh, that was my graphic for the map. So I'm going to add another image, which is our map, so you can find where our whiskey can be found. Let's see if I can do this in real time. Doom do 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 do. Oh, look at this. This is another thing I wanted to show y'all. Bum bum. This is the promotion poster for our space whiskey that I'm working on. We choose to do these things. We choose to do these things not because it's easy, but because it is hard. Ah, space whiskey. That's coming. That is coming. Let's get the proper image that I'm looking for now. Image. Map. 2. All right, where's my map of the United States that shows where our whiskey is able to be found? Kids, let's find it. And just so you know, if you're new here, that's kind of how the shows go. I'm kind of freewheeling through most of the show. There we go. Where is it? There's the map. It's a 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 map. Get it in here. I guess I could just do a transformation and have it fit the screen and then size it down from there. But these are the 34 states. If you want to find our whiskey, it's right here in these 34 states. You have it ordered online and shipped to your door, oldhumbledistilling.com/shop online. There it is. 34 states. If you're in one of those gray states, you can't get it. If you're in one of those not gray states, you can definitely get it. So there you have it. And if you want to be inspired by something that's coming up later, here's our space whiskey banner. Oh, I actually have the whole banner. I made a banner for what might become a Patreon page. So let's take a look at that. I want to show that off too because I'm kind of excited about it. This is the type of stuff that gives my lawyer not hemorrhoids, headaches. This gives her headaches because she's like, no, don't do this. You can't do space whiskey. And I'm like, we don't do can't. We're not Americans. We're Americans, thank you very much. Why? Some say, I love this part of it. Why space whiskey? We choose space whiskey not because it's easy, but because it is hard. This is going to be a hell of a project, and I'm super duper looking forward to it. So the plan is to take a weather balloon, a high altitude balloon, attach cameras and a barrel of whiskey, and send it up into space to the edge of space to to the very edge of atmosphere, and then bring it back to Earth safely. Safely bring it back to Earth, and then drink it because it's going to be fucking awesome. That's gonna be awesome. That's the kind of thing that we do, not because it's easy, but because it is hard. Damn right. Anyway, there we go. Put this back on the screen. Perfect. Polska Bob's in the house. Cheers, Polska Bob. Guess who just got their name added to the list of whiskey giveaway drawings, or the whiskey giveaway Wheel of Doom and Glory? Polska Bob. So at the end of August, we will be spinning the Wheel of Doom and Glory. I want somebody to argue with me about whether or not the 90s was the best era for music, because you're wrong. Go ahead and try and argue in chat. It is wrong. You can't. You can't argue that point because it is untrue. The 90s was 100% the best era for music, period, bar none. So there, take that. Alternative rock music made the 1990s music the best. That was one of the many things, yeah. And yes, Bob, it is 100% absurd that we will be sending whiskey into space. And you know what? I'm here for it. I am 100% behind that notion. We don't do things that are not absurd because we choose to do them who are absurd because of I don't know. I can't make absurd. Absurd is impossible. I'd rather impossible because I can whip off impossible as un-American. I'll disagree with the 1990s music being the last great music. You go ahead and disagree. You're wrong, Bob. You're wrong. And it's not even a debatable topic. And I'll tell you how we do non-debatable topics at the Old Humble Distilling Company. And I did that the other day, a few weeks ago. I was doing a tasting at Specs, and this crazy person comes into Specs, and I'm at the barrel. I'm with my whiskey. I'm working, right? I'm in my office. So this dickhole comes into my office, literally comes into my office, and because I'm sitting there, I'm trying to sell whiskey. He thinks I'm going to be polite to him, and he takes my whiskey, he drinks, and he goes, "That's good stuff. I'll buy a bottle, but before I buy a bottle, I want you to know that they're using vaccines to take out." To rewrite the God chromosome in our DNA, and my girlfriend tells me about the chemtrails being sprayed out from behind, and I'm like, your girlfriend doesn't know what she's talking about, man. She's telling you loony stuff. She's like, is my girlfriend a liar? I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and argue this point with you. And I took my bottle and I said, I'm going over here, and I turned around and I walked off to the other side of the store and waited for that dumbass to leave. And it didn't take him long. He didn't have an audience, so he left. I wasn't going to listen to that nonsense. That's generally how I debate non-debatable topics. I just say nope, and I grab my drink and I walk off. But I'm willing to accept that there's going to be another great decade. I just don't know when it's going to be. It's not going to be for a long time because the structural things working against music right now are pretty profound. The companies that have a lock on music have a lock on music. Between iHeart and Cumulus and Audible and whatever the other one is, I can't remember the fourth one. They have a pretty solid lock on the music industry, and then you have Spotify. It's just really hard for small, independent, regional, local bands to get their music out because if you're a record label, if you're a music label, you want a band that'll be able to tap into the national scene. It's really tough for small, independent, regional music labels to do what they do if they're not affiliated or attached to a larger brand name music label. And they can do local festivals that's something that they do, and that's something that they can do, but it's really hard to organize that stuff if you ain't got money to do it. And independent music labels don't have money to do it. Just saying. So let's see your point. What are you saying here? I'm going to hide this. hide this banner here. Where is it? Banner, hide, please, and thank you. Where is it? Banner, hide. Found it. Okay, back to chat. Oh, make this one better. Oops, fix the. There it is. All right, that's the number of states that we're available in. That's our world tour happening next, starting this Saturday, actually. And now back to chat. Let me close this window to improve performance. And now back to chat. There we go. Okay, Polska Bob. First of all, the Aughts had, I'm not saying it didn't have awesome bands. The Aughts did have awesome bands. Yep. The Strokes, Killers, Interpol, Yeah Yes, King of Leon. Yep. You can keep going. And how many of those bands started in the 90s? They might have broken that in the early aughts, but they started in the 90s. A lot of them started in the 90s. They worked hard in the 90s to break through in the aughts. And they're still, and a lot of them are still going on. A lot of them are still going through too. The Killers, the Strokes, Kings of Leon, several of them are still they're still performing, and they're still and that was the early part of the aughts, and they were able to get in before the full decline of the 1990s. Absolutely. And again, I never once said that there weren't great groups in the 70s. There weren't great bands in the 80s. There weren't great bands in the 60s. The 60s, 70s, and 80s were fantastic times for music. But since the 1990s, you have more homogenized, more more packaged, and more corporate produced musicians and music groups. You have the America's Got Talent musical performers. You have America's Got Talent styrofoam flavored music that you didn't have that didn't exist prior to the 2000s. Queens of Stone Age, they're doing great. They're doing great albums, but they're not national charting albums. Radiohead was not a 2000s band. They were a 1900s band. They were a 20th century band. Coldplay, another 20th century band. You can keep going, but if you're going to keep going, don't keep going with the 1990s groups. You're not proving your point. But no, I don't disagree that there's still. I mean, there's still great music being made. There's still great music being made, but it's not. I don't want to say it's not the same, but it's not on a scale and caliber as what was being made. And there was a lot of garbage being made in the 1990s too. There was a lot of garbage being made. A lot of garbage being made. But there was so much. And we may be in an era today where we get a bunch of one-hit wonders because of TikTok and YouTube and the ability for songs to break through with shorts and with shorts and clips and things like that, like the from different eras, rising back up and becoming bestsellers. All of a sudden, chart topping songs for weird ways because of YouTube and social media and stuff like that. We live in a weird era where if you get a stupid viral dance to go with a couple of stanzas of your song, then all of a sudden your song is a viral sensation and it takes off again. They had that with not Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, with the Dogface 420 dude on his skateboard. There's such a fucking vibe too. But it's I love music. I love listening to live bands. In fact, we're probably going to bring back the Friday nights live, but it's going to be a pay-per-view type of thing, members only videos. Rock metal coming out of Japan, baby. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. the K-pop and J-pop and the bands that are coming out of that side of the Pacific Ocean. There's a lot of great music. There's a lot of great industry, but the K-pop industry is another prepackaged industrial pop machine that literally um, puts bands together for looks, manufactures their sound, and pushes them out. Not unlike Menudo. Menudo, I think, has had 40 members since its founding, and they just keep replacing parts and shipping out more Menudo and shipping out more Menudo. Menudo was probably the original boy band. They were boy bands before boy bands were boy bands in the United States. Um, and like I said, we have great performers today. We have great performers today. We have great performers from the last decade, but it's not. I don't want to say authentic because I don't like to use that word when it comes to music, but when you had the rawness of records like Appetite for Destruction, the rawness of of music that was coming, like the first effort discs and the first effort records that would come out from these bands when they broke, before they were polished, before they were professionalized, before they were monetized by the labels. The rawness of this stuff, we've lost that rawness because these bands don't come out with uh, raw work sound. They're coming out with prepackaged corporate music. By the time it gets to us, it's already been produced. It's already highly produced. Um, in the same way that our food is highly produced. By the time that sound gets to us, it's been produced and auto tuned and cut and edited and scrubbed and swapped. It's just it's not the same. It's packaged, corporate, polished, um, manufactured music, and it's not the same as it was. And I don't mean it's. I don't want to say it's not. I don't want to say that it's not the same because this isn't nostalgia speaking. This is this is this is this is art and this is performance and this is the expression of the music, and people getting together and just pounding on their guitar and getting out the emotion of the music and getting it into the sound. And we don't get that because the emotion of the music goes through auto tune and goes through a producer and it goes through a production process, and by the time it gets to us, it's polished because we don't have what we had in the 90s because the entire industry has changed. The entire industry has changed from a multi-regional industry and several local markets that feed into a regional market that feeds into a national market to a national market that has consumed literally everything. Everything has a homogenized sound. Everything has a packaged sound. Everything has a produced sound. And it's not the rawness, the pure expressive rawness that we had, and we're never going to get that again because the entire market has changed. The nature of the market has changed, which means the nature of the product that goes to that market has changed. We don't have the sound of garage bands the way we used to, and we may have on isolated circumstances. Um, uh, the White Stripes still gives us that raw sound. And there's others that give us that raw sound. There's a lot of them that give us that raw sound, but that's not the trend of the industry. That's an anomaly. That's that's the exception to the rule. The rule is a polished, well produced, well packaged, well uh, fine tuned sound, auto tuned sound, if you will. The trend of the industry is that. The exception is the garage band that's got its over tweaked microphones and overclocked amps. That's the exception. And that's why we like it so much, is because it sounds different. That's like when you hear an actual V8 Dodge Charger rumbling down the road. You're like, oh, that is such a nice departure from the uh, uh, electric car that has an MP3 of the sound of an engine playing instead of an actual engine rumbling. And that's the difference. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say it's necessarily good or bad because it's different and we get a great sound out of it. It's thoroughly entertaining. It's thoroughly entertaining. But when you go to a live show, you're not going to hear the rawness of the live band play. You're going to see the performance of the dance moves up close because there isn't a live band playing. There's no live bands playing with the mega performers that we see today, unless you're going to one of those bands that you're mentioning. One of those bands that you're mentioning is the alt, not the typical. It's the alternate. And going to see live music, going to see live bands play is just such a treat because it has that raw sound, that edge to it, and it's just so much fun to hear the band play. But the trend in the industry is not bands. The overarching industry trend is not bands playing. Here's something like Maneskin or the White Stripes, or I mean, hell, even Def Leppard is still touring, Guns N' Roses and Poison. You hear those guys just play raw. It's so much fun to listen to it. You listen to the guitar just glowering into the amps and the drums just riveting your fucking skull there. It's so much fun. I probably lost my monetization on that, but it's just so much fun to listen to that. But when it's all auto-tuned and prepackaged and playing in the as an audio loop in the background, it's just not quite the same. It's just not. It's not that raw, visceral sound, and we've lost that raw, visceral sound as a trend in the industry. That trend in the industry, going back, you can point to where it changes, and it changes in the late 1990s, and we're never going to get it back. We're never going to get it back. The trend, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Christina Aguilera. That's the genie song. That was her. I mean, we're just not going to get it back. It's gone. And there's a specific sound to hear. There's a specific sound to go after, but it's not the trend, and it's not what's going to sell out Wembley. It's not what's selling out the stadiums. It's not what's selling out the arenas, unless you go to the classic supergroups. You go to the classic supergroups that are still playing stadiums, you can still hear that sound. But yeah, you don't get that sound from Lizzo. You don't get that sound from Taylor Swift. You don't get that sound from Shania Twain. Shows my age. Uh, um, there's country music bands that you can get that sound from because they still play instruments and stuff. But um, British Sea Power was mid 2000s. Love them. They flew hits the U.S. too. Um, I used to hear new bands and music weekly back in the day. Yeah, a couple decades, only find one or two bands every 5 years. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I still listen to uh, like I rotate between 70s, 80s, 90s, and aughts. I still listen. I mean, those are the stations that I rotate between. Um, that makes no sense. All music comes from the alphabet from Greece. It's always been copied, rearranged. Oh yeah, all music has been copied and rearranged. There's only eight notes. There's no there. You can't redo it. But that's not to say that. I mean, even some of the hits that we love today are copies from back in the '60s. I mean, I mentioned Maneskin, their big hit. I'm begging you, begging was a cover of a cover of a cover from the '60s. I mean, let's not even worry about that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that 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 ability to take that music, the ability to pick up your instruments and play the it's not even that. It's the ability um to hear the rawness of the actual performance of the music as opposed to the performance of the dance act around the music. I mean, we went to Kiss concerts to see the whole thing that Kiss did, but also to hear what Kiss did and feel what Kiss did. If I just want to sit at home and listen to the music that Kiss plays, I could do that. If I want to sit at home and watch somebody dance to the music that Kiss plays, today I can do that. But to actually hear Ace Frehley blazing away on the bass, to actually hear, or was it Ace Frehley? Yeah, Ace Frehley blazing away on the bass, to hear Gene screaming into the microphone and hammering away on the lead guitar, to hear and feel that, and to get that same sound even through their polished stuff, because let's face it, we never got the live performance on the radio. We never got that live performance, but we could feel the same visceral emotion going into the music, and it was not always singer-songwriters, performers making their own music, because let's face it, bands didn't always write their own songs. Very rarely did they write their own songs. They would have people write songs for them and use songs from the producers. But a lot of these groups, a lot of the greats, did write their own music. I mean, even Taylor Swift, she writes a lot of her own music too. No question about that. She's a freaking poet. She's a national treasure. I don't want to discount these folks. They do great work. But again, this notion that the music that the nature of the industry changed in the late 1990s, and it dumbed down the the listener's experience, because instead of having bands driving the music into the into bands driving the music into the industry, it was the industry pulling music out of the bands. And it's the power dynamic shifted at the end of the 1990s from the musicians and the bands to the companies and the labels. And there was always this balance struggle back and forth between the artists and the labels, and the artists and the labels, and the artists and labels. But the power shifted significantly towards the labels in the early 2000s. In the end of the 1990s and early 2000s, the power has shifted significantly towards the labels, and that has crushed, absolutely crushed, the diversity of sound that we have in music since the 1990s. And since the 1990s, the diversity and quality of music, well, I don't know about the quality of music. That's probably one step too far. The quality of music has probably gone up, but the diversity has gone down. So we get a whole lot more of really yummy milk chocolate, but a whole lot less of all the other stuff that we really enjoy, the diversity to our ears, that makes our ears happy. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we don't have good music today, because we may even have better music today, just not as much great music as we. I would much rather have 1,000 sixes and sevens than 110s. That's my personal opinion, and it's correct. It's just my personal opinion, and it's also empirically correct. Having 1,000 sixes and sevens versus 110s, because you have just so much more variety. And even if you have 1,000 sixes and sevens and 20 or 30 tens, you just have so much more good and great music, so much more good and great stuff to feast on for so long. And it's always, every time you pick it up, it's different. Every time you pick it up, it's different. Every time you pick it up, it's different. As opposed to today, when every time you pick it up, it kind of sounds the same. It kind of sounds the same. It kind of sounds the same, because it's all manufactured sugar. It's all manufactured to hit that sweet spot right there. Every freaking time you taste it, hits that sweet spot. That's all I'm saying. And I'm right. So, you can argue, but you're wrong. Going to wrong shows, watch any live video from Bandmade. Yeah. I mean, and again, you're mentioning that you're specifically citing bands that are not the industry trend. They're the alt to the industry trend. The industry trend is not that. Because those are good bands. I even recognize some of them. Because I'm an old man. I don't recognize all the stuff. Some of those are damn good bands, but it's not the industry trend. That's not the trend. That's the alt. And that's what I'm saying. That's the alt. I'm having a great night. Taylor is a national treasure. Don't you start talking about my ex-girlfriend. We are totally getting back together. And if you that is part and parcel of my point. She is a goddess. She is atop the music scene. She is the act that drives ticket sales across the industry. She sells out stadiums. She played Reliance. Did she play Reliance Stadium or did she play? I don't remember if she played Reliance Stadium or Compaq Center. But she sold the damn thing out. National treasure. Absolute national treasure. And one of the number one acts in the industry right now. Certainly a top 5 act in the industry right now. Those bands you mentioned, you put them together, they don't equal her. You put them all together, they don't even come close to equaling half of the ticket sales that she does in a year. So you want to talk about them? Fine. But she's the top of the industry. That's the industry trend. That's the industry trend. They're the alternative. She's the trend. And she'll have a show in Vegas in 10 years. That's her retirement plan. She'll be in Vegas doing a show in her own theater once a week, twice a week. Polska 1, Joe 0. No, you're wrong. You're looking at the wrong scoreboard. That's Polska 1, Joe 0, Polska. So yeah, no, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. But you make a nice effort in showing how incorrect you are, and I appreciate that. I really do. I mean, you can't cite the alternative and claim that it's the trend of the industry. The trend of the industry is why the industry sucks. Because we have these delicious saccharine pills that hit us right there every time. The 9 or 10. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the 90s, we had the rise of the what were they called? Pop Tarts and Popstitutes. The pop artists that were more interesting because of what they looked like than how they sounded. More interesting for their physical talent than their musical talent, if you know what I mean. And we've got, I mean, hell, to this day we've got Shakira and Jennifer Lopez doing halftime shows together. I mean, Jesus Christ. That was a great halftime show. I'm going to name my still Shakira and Jennifer Lopez because, they got big old booties too. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that was some English words right there. Yeah, times 13.75. 220 divided by 60 is 3.5. Okay, I've got about 30 minutes left of the show. So I'm going to go into wrap up mode. I've got to get up in the morning. I've got to get up in about 5 hours. I've got to drive into downtown. I've got work to do in the morning. So I'm going to turn off chat and we're going to go into shutdown mode. and start wrapping up the show. I appreciate you guys joining me for the show. I absolutely 100% appreciate it. If I could go on till 2 o'clock in the morning, I absolutely would. Go check us out, oldhumbledistilling.com. I'm going to be doing a live from the distillery. We're going to be bottling up our Boomtown bourbon in the next couple of days, so I'll be doing a live from the distillery. I've got a video coming out explaining our membership program because we are now monetized. Thank you very much for your praise and adulation. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It makes me happy. We're working on several new initiatives to help carry that ball forward and do some more things. I've got some advertisements that I'm going to start posting up. Some videos called sip along videos that will be pushed out to people to harass them in front of various shows that I want to mess with. But also, so I've got the live. I've got a whole series of build out work that I've got to start doing at the distillery. I've got so we got the build out that I'll be working on. We've got the commercials that I'll have coming out, little 30-second bits. 30-second bits. The build out. Another video coming out to describe the membership program. I'll have a new trailer recorded for the beginning of these shows. I'll have possibly a new commercial with the ad twins. God damn, we just got a bunch of stuff coming up over the course of the next 6 weeks. We've got a lot of stuff. And in the meantime, I encourage folks to go and check out our website, oldhumbledistilling.com. I forgot to add our world tour right there. Starting this Saturday. This Saturday's event is not on there. We've got a special event taping at Slade Ham's. Y'all have seen Slade Ham on my show before. Local comedian. He's doing his Netflix special, Amazon special. He's doing a comedy special. It'll probably be distributed on Netflix because all comedy specials are distributed on Netflix. Our world tour starts Saturday, but then after Slade's thing, we're going out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're going all over the state of Texas, up and down the freeways, going back and forth between here in Dallas, here in Fort Worth, here in Austin, here in San Antonio. It is going to be a whirlwind second half of August. But then when it gets into September, it gets really cuckoo crazy, where we have 20, 23, 24 stores in 17 days. Just woo, cuckoo crazy. Go check out my favorite animal, the man titties, the Krabby Barbara. I don't consider myself to be a Swiftie. I consider myself to be her ex-boyfriend. We are definitely getting back together. Me and Tay Tay go way back. Way back. I dated her when I was in high school. Start making up stories about me and Taylor Swift. Go ahead and unpin this comment there. Unpin. Thank you. Thank you, John, for posting the link. Go to oldhumbledistilling.com. Go check out our website. Click on the Shop Now button. Any one of these 34 states. Where's my image? Images. These 34 states where you can find our delicious whiskey. If you live in one of these states, then, whoops. Fit to screen. There we go. If you live in any one of these 34 states, you can have our whiskey delivered to your door. Order online, delivered to your door. If you order 2 bottles, and use the discount code MAKEIT2, the numeral 2, make it the numeral 2, you can have your whiskey shipped for free. You got to buy the bottles, but I'll cover the shipping charge. Buy 2 bottles, I'll cover the shipping charge. So come on. Right there. Any one of these 34 states. You can see Illinois is one of those states. Yeah, see, it's right there. Illinois. I'm going to put my finger up there. Boop, boop. Illinois is one of those states. I don't know where Bob is. Wisconsin, but if you're like Polska, I assume. I read Polska and think polka. That'd be Wisconsin. Well, Dom, you're in Kentucky, I believe, and Kentucky is definitely one of those states. So yeah, you know, you can order 2 bottles and have it shipped to your door. For $100, for less than $100, you can get a bottle of Special Reserve and Boomtown Bourbon as a package deal. You get $5 discount if you buy those 2 bottles together. It's $100 for those 2 bottles, but if you buy them together, you get $5 off, and then you don't have to pay shipping. It's delivered to your door. Oh my God, Old Humble guy, you've lost your marbles. You're giving away money. Yes, yes, I am. I am giving away money. And also, for the rest of August and all of September, if you get into chat, participate in the show by getting into chat, or, I mean, that'll get you an entry on the Wheel of Doom and Glory, or you buy a $5 super chat, at least a $5 super chat. I may drop that down to $2 super chats. $2 super chat. Give me a $2 super chat. I'll enter your name on the Wheel of Doom and Glory a second time. Every time you give me $2, I'll add it to I'll add your name to the list. You want your name on the list 10 times? Give me $20. I'm easy. $20. Hey, $20. I'll get your name on the wheel. What's up? Anyway, but all that money goes back to basically improving the channel, getting green screen, getting new computer, getting some proper lights, upgrading my studio at the distillery so that I can do these shows at the distillery. All of that stuff goes to upgrading the YouTube channel and improving the broadcast quality and broadcast experience for you. Even going into a little kitty so that I can give guests some incentive to join me. And other special projects like our movie, The Whiskey Run, which will be a madcap comedy adventure spanning the entire breadth of the continent, from Houston to New York to LA and back to Houston. It will be dope as hell. It'll have Armenians, it'll have Fieros, it'll have a truck, it'll have a runaway bride, it'll have fascists, it'll have cops, it'll have everything. It'll have everything. What more could you ask for? Maybe a cohesive plot. It's not going to have that. It will not have that. So, you know, don't think too hard. It's just going to be fun. So piss off. Let's move this here. Can we make the United States broader? No, we can't make it wider. It's unfortunate. I thought I could just stretch it and make it like wide. Can't make it wide. All right, that's fine. We did not top 2250, unfortunately. I was hoping that this would. Can I refresh that? What's my thing to refresh? Order, hide, scale, filter. Can I do this? Order, hide, scale. Rename, remove, order. What if I just did this? What if I muted it? Can I do that? And then bring it back? Oh, there it goes. Will it get up to 2250? No. Still 2248. I'm like 2 subs away from 2250. So that's like disappointing. I'm disappointed in everybody out there. No, I'm kidding. I love everybody. Oh, it's 2249. We're 1 away from having that flip up to 2250. God damn, people, come on, get on the ball. And I got 25 minutes. I will sit around for 25 more minutes. I will recite Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven if I have to. In fact, no. You know what I'm going to do? I've got Slade Ham's book right here, How to Eat a Dragon. And I'm going to read an excerpt from this, I think. This is a story called Silent Warrior. I don't remember this one, but we're going to read it. Is this a long one? Yeah, 87. Oh, speaking of reading things, a week or ago? Was it a week or 2 weeks ago? 1 week. 1 or 2 weeks ago, I read the entire indictment for Donald Trump for his January 6th, the federal indictment for his January 6th attempted coup. I read that entire indictment, cover to cover, 45 pages. It took me 5 hours. 5 hours, 4 charges, read the entire indictment document. By the way, he's fucked. Should be fucked. I'm so glad he's fucked. Georgia comes out with an indictment 2 days ago. I'm not reading that. That is 98 pages, 19 co-defendants, including Donald Trump and 18 others, Rudy Giuliani, that fucking ghoul, and all the other people who are involved in the conspiracy to overthrow the United States government, charged under RICO statutes in the state of Georgia. 98 pages. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. I'll read it to myself. I'm not reading it out loud on the channel. They're going to go away for a long time. Super duper excited about that. That's going to be great. All right, let's read this. Sometimes a comic, this is Silent Warrior from Slade Ham's book, How to Cook a Dragon. Sometimes a comic has a bad set for reasons you could never possibly know. Maybe it's a family member running amok in the back of their mind, or maybe it's a day of dealing with cat trouble, but for whatever reason, their head is just not in the game. And sometimes that reason is lack of sleep. It started at 3 a.m. and it hasn't stopped. It is relentless. It's the second attack in as many days, and my sanity may suffer for it. I am under siege by the most well-trained mosquito assassin on the planet. Oh, I remember this story. This is a fucking hilarious story. Sorry. I can't say fucking. I have forever been aware of the buzzing annoyance that accompanies most mosquitoes. My springs and summers have been plagued by clouds of mosquitoes for as long as I can remember. This one, though, this one is a special breed, a regular attacker that can be isolated by its sound. You'll listen to it as it gets closer and closer and then slap the last place you heard it. I've killed them by the hundreds over my lifetime, but I'm afraid that's why they've never sent this demon warrior after me. Or, I'm sorry, I'm afraid that's why they've sent this demon warrior after me. The Uruk-hai of the insect world. If you're confused, let me explain. This satanic little bug doesn't buzz. There's no warning, no tickle of the ear, no sudden silence to notify an imminent sting, just the feeling of her tongue or beak or whatever it is that punctures your flesh 1,000 times in a single night. I've read The Art of War. I know how the strategies of combat work. Sun Tzu says to know your enemy, and I do. I know they've attracted to white things and expel carbon dioxide, so I am both of those. I'm a target. We are natural adversaries. It knows how to prey on me. I must learn to prey on it. But how do you fight something you can't see? This female ninja warrior trained in guerrilla warfare is unbeatable. From out of the darkness she comes, and unrelenting in her hatred for me, tactically locates pieces of my skin that extend past the protection of the hotel comforter. This comforter is usually the first thing I fling to the floor when I check into a hotel. I've never been convinced that hotels wash them, but now it's my last true layer of defense. I feel the sting and I tighten the muscle when she jabs me, hoping to somehow capture that proboscis in my arm and smash the mischievous little sprite into a puddle of her thorax and my own blood. But she's gone again. I drift back to sleep, another fitful 20 minutes before the next salvo comes. Is there more than one? There must be. If she's a lone wolf, she should be huge. She's had over a pint of my blood. Lie in wait, feel the sting, turn on the light, and look for the thing that's the size of a softball. She's not there. She hasn't flown up to the light or landed on the wall like a typical soldier. She's simply gone. Vampire-like in her tendencies to bite and then fade into the night. Am I going to turn into a mosquito now? I can't see her. I can't fight her. And I certainly don't want to become her. My only resort is to cocoon myself in the covers, leaving nothing exposed. It's hot and uncomfortable, but it'll prevent further damage. Wrap up, tend to my wounds, and reassess the battle in the morning. She has to sleep sometime. I will be safe in my... Ow! Are you kidding me? How did she do that? I just got stung again. Sweet Christmas, she's in here with me. That or her stinger is long enough to penetrate the blanket. Oh my God, what if it is? What if I'm really up against some vampire bird with a foot-long pike and a cloaking device? I'm not going out like this. Covers off, lights on, I roll out of bed and hit the floor. Fists up, let's do this, motherfucker. And just like that, she's gone. Am I crazy? No, the marks are there. Aren't they? It's 7 o'clock in the morning now. Maybe this is the product of my delirium. Maybe there's no mosquito at all. How ridiculous am I being? There are no buzzing mosquitoes. I'm just tired. Go back to bed. Stop hallucinating. Of course, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing that she didn't exist. And that's how she beats you. Slade is a great writer. He's a great comic. He's a great writer. And I get to be at his show where he will be taping his first ever solo comedy special. Super duper excited. Oh, Very Benjamin Life is in chat. Cheers, Very Benjamin Life. Welcome to the party. You, sir, have been added to the Wheel of Doom and Glory, which will be spun at the end of September for a free sample pack of Old Humble Whiskey. Welcome to the party. Very Benjamin Life. Very Benjamin Life. Thank you for joining us, my good man. The 90s were pretty good because people were trying to be creative, learned how to do things in a more hands-on way. Yeah, right. Exactly. And it was so it was a point in time where bands had creative ownership of the industry. It was a very brief point in time where the artists and artisans had power, and then it was sucked right back up into the ethos of the industry. And God, it was such an opportunity, such a squandered opportunity. Swifties are generally okay in my book. It's relatively wholesome. Let's get back into chat real quick. Taylor seems a relatively wholesome what? Influence on the fans. She's a national treasure. She is a national treasure, and that's why I loved her so much. It was just things didn't work out. She had a career. She went on to do her thing. I went on to do my thing. But I really do hope. I'm holding out hope. I know in my heart. I know in her heart. I know where her home is. She knows where my home is. I've told my wife this. We are definitely getting back together. My wife's okay with it. She said, "Okay, fine, whatever." So she's okay with it. I'm okay with it. I know Taylor. When Taylor's done with her things and when I'm done with my things, we will make eye contact across the room and we will definitely get back together. So yeah, it's just a matter of time. It really is. It's just a matter of time. They're one of the best things that ever came out of the 90s. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. They formed in '88, but they came to their own in the 1990s. They are a product of the 1990s. Absolutely. REM, an alternative rock band. I don't consider REM to be a rock band at all. I consider them to be an alt band, an alternative band. But they were absolutely part of the sound of the 90s. They were absolutely part of the sound of the 90s. What do I call a goat that can play the piano? Billy Joel. Billy Joel is absolutely a goat. He is absolutely one of the goats. Mm. One of the greatest to ever do the thing that he does. Okay. There was also the O-Nighters in the 90s. The Wonders, that thing you do. They were a fake band, though. They don't count. Okay. So that we're back in the chat. We're done with the chat. Any more updates I need to do from the distillery? We're going to do a whole show. We're going to do a whole show describing the whiskey run. We did a lot of that last week. We're going to do a lot more of that next week, or in a couple of weeks. Whiskey run, because we got to kick off the crowdfunding. We're going to have to kick off at some point the crowdfunding effort for the whiskey run. Who are some of my favorite '90s bands? Oh, Jesus, Sunflowers. I don't even know if I can list them all. They're so. I mean, okay, if I could just name three. I mean, I'm down with Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses is one. Blues Traveler is another. Tom Petty, who isn't a 1990s guy, but I don't know if he counts as a supergroup. The Heartbreakers. Cinderella was one. Um, I mean, Poison predated the '90s. Van Halen predated the '90s. Quiet Riot predated the '90s. Metallica was a '90s group, I think. I think they count as a '90s group. Um, I mean, I was mostly a rock kid, but then they had Hootie and the Blowfish, and they had Bare Naked Ladies, and They Might Be Giants, and all these. I mean, golly, there was such a wide range of. I mean, of course, Nirvana. I'm not as enamored with Nirvana as some people are. They're like, oh, Kurt Cobain was a god. He was amazing. I'm like, yeah, he was. I mean, he was okay. I mean, oh, okay. I like Pearl Jam more than I like Nirvana. Um, Eddie Vedder's a freaking god. Um, I mean, they're so. I don't even know. Uh, I don't even know how to answer that. I don't even know how to approach that question. Like I would if you put together a festival of 90s nostalgia rock, call it the Nostalgia Fest or whatever, I would go to that Woodstock. I would absolutely go to that. I would spend $200 for a 4-day music fest of 90s music. Just I would sleep in a damn tent. I mean, who are we kidding? There would be RVs. There wouldn't be tents. Um, yeah, that right. Metallica formed in 19. They worked a long time. They kind of came. I don't even know if they. Yeah, they were a 1980s supergroup. They were huge by the 1990s. I went to a Metallica Guns N' Roses double bill arena, not arena, a stadium concert. They played in the Astrodome. Metallica and Guns N' Roses double headliner concert. Absolutely amazing show. Absolutely amazing show. Uh, Faith No More opened from. That's another group. Faith No More, fantastic group from the '90s. Um, and Kid Rock was big deal in the '90s. He went crazy in the last 10 years, but you know, I think a lot of that's an act. I don't really think that's real. Uh, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice. I mean, so many. Yeah, it would likely cost more. I mean, and we were talking, and I'm talking about like a 5-day music fest. There's a music fest that I used to go to called the River Revival. That was a 4-day camping music fest on the Guadalupe River, and it was indie bands, Texas indie bands, Tomar and the FCs. I mean, these people you never heard of. The Suffers, Tomar. Um, uh, uh, ah, I've suddenly gone blank on the bands that showed up at these shows. Absolutely fantastic. Great party. It's on the Guadalupe River. We're at a campground. You stay in your own tent. You get up, you go down, you listen to music, you float on the river, you listen to music, you float on the river, you eat food, you drink booze, you float on the river, you listen to music. It is a dope ass 4 days. Costs like $700. So, or $350 for each person. So it's like $700 for two people to go camping and listen to music for 4 days and have all your food paid for and all your drink paid for. It is insane. Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's another one. Holy shit. Can't believe I forgot the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Ah, they were Red Hot Chili Peppers, if you recall. Their bassist was one of the punks in Back to the Future. And Huey Lewis and the News was the music that the bad kids listened to in Back to the Future. So in the future, 20 years ago, in the future, 30 years ago, in the future, which was 5 years ago now, uh, kids who were bad kids listened to Huey Lewis and the News. We're in an alternate timeline today, apparently. So, I guarantee we listen to a lot of the same music because and most people, most of us out here, We do listen to the same music because we all love music from the 90s. Like just the general top 40 serious music, 1990s, decade of the 90s music. Most of us, even kids today, who are watching the damn TikToks and doing their stupid dance videos and shit, they listen to the same stuff we listen to. I say kids these days like a fucking old man. Kids these days listen to the same music we listened to back then because it's the last great music that was ever made. And yeah, I mean, and not to say that music today isn't, you know, the music today is probably the great music today is great on a scale that music yesterday could never achieve. You know, billions of records and billions of records. Like they could never do that back then. They didn't have access to the markets. But there's less of it. Like I said, I'd rather have 1,000 sevens than 10 or than 110s. Rather have 1,000 sevens than 110. And that's what we got in the 90s. We had 1,000 sevens. Everything was good. There was just a crap ton of good. And now there's a little bit of great. A lot of garbage, but a little bit of great. And in the 1990s, we had a lot of good and a very little bit of great. We had maybe, I don't know, a dozen tens maybe. We didn't have 100 tens. Not by any stretch of the imagination, but we had 1,007. Oh, and it was amazing. 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 And we didn't appreciate it at the time because there was a lot of music at the time that was made that was garbage. I remember Smash Mouth when they came out with that one record that they had the one top hit, and then the rest of the other 11 tracks were just trash. Somebody once told me, and then the rest of the album was garbage, absolute garbage, hot, steaming trash. Anyway, yeah, Hootie and the Blowfish was dope as hell. Absolutely dope as hell because Ben, I appreciate that 100%. Appreciate you sharing the stream, but I am 7 minutes away from shutting it down. We're shutting it down at midnight. I'm sorry, we're shutting it down. But for that, I will put you on the wheel a second time. Share the stream, you get on the wheel again. I'm going to add that to the rules. So we got show up in chat. In chat, share the stream, and $5 super chat. $5 super chat gets you on the list again. So there you go. So that's 3 ways to get on the wheel of doom and glory. I hope we have 1,000 entries. I hope we have 1,000 entries, and I hope half of them are people who have paid a super chat and gotten into chat. I hope half of them are the same people. I really do. Because y'all are the ones that deserve all of the best opportunities to win free whiskey. Free whiskey. I think I still have a picture of the free whiskey pack. Vanessa Kitty was the last person to get a sample pack of our whiskeys. Straight whiskey, special reserve, double oak rye, and Boomtown bourbon. A little sample bottle of each one. I don't usually get much. Hey, I don't. Share it. I don't care if you get a lot. The number of views you get doesn't matter to me. I appreciate the participation and I appreciate the support. I would much rather, if you have a what's it? If you're married to an enthusiastic 4, it's way better than being married to a disinterested 8. Right? I mean, like, the dumpy guys with the hot chicks, they're the best spouses because they're doting on her every need and her every want. They're like, whatever you want, honey, I'll take good care of you because he's a super interested 4. he's he's he is he has outkicked his coverage. Matty J is in the house. What is up, Matty J? Every Wednesday night we're live, man. And you just got on the wheel. See there, Ben? You just got a fresh pair of views. Matt J has just gotten on the wheel of doom and glory. Congratulations, Matty J. Matt J. You were on the wheel of doom and glory. We're giving away another sample pack of whiskey. I don't know, corncob pipe. We're giving away a sample pack of whiskey at the end of August or at the end of September. And my super chats are active. So because we got monetized, baby. We are monetized. We have a super chat, and if you the ways to get onto our onto the wheel of doom and glory is you get into chat, you share the stream, or you contribute $5 super chat, and then you are absolutely in on the wheel. So you're already on the wheel because your name showed up in chat. So there you go. And I see we have 21 views, but I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names that I've seen come through chat. So there's 15 people who popped in and didn't bother saying anything. So fuck those guys. 100% screw those guys. Y'all are the all-stars. Y'all are in chat. Y'all dropped a comment. Y'all are on the wheel. Oh. And Ben, very Benjamin Life, he shared the stream, so he gets an extra spot on the wheel. Y'all could do it too. Say you share the stream. Let me know you did it. Y'all get on the wheel too. That's how we do it. That's how we do it at the Old Humble Distilling Company, my friends. How do I do this properly so it doesn't? Do I do it on this side? Is this the right side to do? If I got the microphone over here, or do I do it on this side? So I have the microphone over here. Although I don't like talking out of this side of my mouth. I'm better at talking out of this side of my mouth. So I got to go on this side. Yeah. So, yeah, you see? So I can talk out of this side of my mouth. I'm much better at talking out of this side of my mouth than this side of my mouth. So, there we go. Matt shared it also. Yeah. If Matty shares it, Matty gets an extra spot. Matty gets an extra spot on the wheel. +1. There we go. Jigs, Sunflowers, Dom, share it. I'm shutting it down. I'm absolutely shutting it down. Because I have to get up in 5 hours. I have to get up in 5 hours, have to shower, have to clean up, and have to go across town to do this mock jury thing. Garth Brooks was popular in the 90s. Yes, he was. Amy Grant, the actress. Amy Grant. I just watched American Hustle. Gosh, she is gorgeous. She is a stunning, amazing beauty. Amy Grant. Whew. Jennifer Lawrence was in American Hustle, and she's amazing. Jennifer Lawrence. Who's the other one? Amy Grant and I can't remember who the other chick was, but they're all three just absolutely stunning. Woo! But they kind of bite me. You've enjoyed Pearl Jam, but they kind of bite. I have a Vitalogy 2-pack, a 2 CD set of Vitalogy that was the it was what is it? All my CDs are at the distillery. But yeah, it was like their live show, and it's so good, so good. Anyway, bore me, not bite me. I gotcha. Show with Shania Twain. Does she do a talk show now? That's wild. Matt, I haven't seen you on the show in ages. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to have you. I'm gonna pour my last drink, a third and final cocktail. I will stay. It is midnight now. I'm gonna stay open for the rest of this cocktail, and that's it. I'm going to bed. I gotta go to bed. I gotta wake up at 5 in the morning, guys. I can't stay up all night. I'm not, I mean, if I stay up, I could run this show until 5 o'clock and go shower, get in the car, and drive to the Galleria for this thing. But that would be stupid. I'm making. This is a one of those mock jury uh, uh, things, and that's going to be like $600. I'm not going to screw that up. I gotta be awake enough to be able to give my stupid opinion about stupid things that they want me to talk about. I don't even know what it's going to be about, but I'll give you the scoop. I promise not to say anything about it, but I'll fictionalize everything, so you know. Anyway, Ever and Safeco Field one summer. Drop me a link and I'll do one with you. What? Do one what? Oh, a shot? I'm not on. I don't have the link. We're not on StreamYard or any of those, so I can't do I am going to get a new computer, which will allow me to do the StreamYard stuff. My graphics card on my laptop is not robust enough to do StreamYard or Restream. So, yeah, in due time. In due time. I mean, look at me. I've already gone from shutdown mode 15 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. I was in shutdown mode. I had gone to the different screen, closed out chat, gone to the other screen. I was giving my updates, giving my final farewells, giving my goodbyes, and then Benjamin Life shows up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll stay around for another 5 minutes. And Matty J shows up, and I'm like, all right, fine. Fine, I'll pour myself another drink. We'll stay open for another 30 minutes to an hour. I will not stay open past 1 o'clock. Mark my words. Restream sucks. Restream sucks, but the free version of Restream is better than the free version of uh, better than the free version of StreamYard. So there's that. The free version of Restream gives far more resources to people, and the first tier of Restream is cheaper than the first tier of StreamYard. You only hear of him of Eddie Vedder. You only hear about Jason Aldean. Yeah, Jason Aldean is the try that in a small town thing. But he's only he's country cosplay. He's not real country. Um, I've been with StreamYard. I've been with StreamYard. What I'm saying is, I mean, the difference in the two isn't tremendous. And Restream is cheaper, and for the purposes of what I need to do, Restream does what I need to do. So I've tried them both. I've done them both. I don't like StreamYard because the people at StreamYard suck. That's all. And also, just so you know, 34 states. 34 states, oldhumbledistilling.com. You can find our whiskey in 34 states. Do I like Walking on the Sun by Smash Mouth? I like Smash Mouth. Smash Mouth is one of those 1990s groups that I thoroughly enjoy. Absolutely. He was hanging at a ball field on one of those days off. He was among the people who were there to look at the ballpark upgrades. Oh. Jason Aldean or Eddie Vedder? You hate Zoom. Zoom is absolute hot garbage. Absolute hot garbage. I have no idea why Zoom owns offices. That's just dumb. You call bullshit on Jason Aldean not being country? Yeah, he's country cosplay, man. He's country like Darius Rucker's country. he's he's country cosplay. It's a sound for him, not a lifestyle. He doesn't know shit. And there was a time and place in the not too distant past where country music was the sound of labor. It was the sound of the common man. It was the sound of labor, farmers, and common men. That was country music, because country music wasn't far divorced from folk music, and folk music is what the people made. The people made. That was the sound. So, when you the chanting sounds, the rhythmic sounds, the chanting sounds, the field work, the mine work, the work that was done to a rhythm. That was the sound of country music. That was the sound of folk music. Whoa, Black Betty, bam, ba, lam. Whoa, Black Betty, bam, ba, lam. That became the blues. That became rhythm and blues. That became the sound of the common man, and it was co-opted by corporate Nashville. It was co-opted by corporate money, and the it was in the late 1970s, early 1970s. It was in the early 1970s. It can be traced back to the Nixon era, when country music was and rednecks, and the sound of the term redneck was co-opted, because there was a labor revolt, a hard hat revolt, against I think it was striking workers or something like that. And Nixon brought those hard hats to the White House and thanked them for being patriotic Americans. And he got a commemorative hard hat for his support of their cause. And that's when the labor movement was co-opted, not the unions, but the workers in the unions were co-opted that was the beginning of the co-opting of the common man, the labor man, from the policies that actually supported them to the policies that worked against them. And it went from there, from the early 70s forward. That's when country music started shifting from the sound of the common man to the sound of the corporation, and that's when you got this hyper patriotism. That's when you get this the hyper masculinity, the hyper patriotism, all the hyper sounds contra to the labor movement that used to always be encapsulated. And the classic country guys, the Chris Christophersons, the Willie Nelsons, the Johnny Cash, the Woody Guthries, those guys, they would not at all recognize this 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 redneck cosplay shit that we hear right now. This commoditized, corporatized, hyper American, puff up your chest, silly nonsense that we listen to today. This try it in a small town shit. Small town? No. Don't even get me started with the hypocrisy. Y'all don't even know. Rednecks were labor movement men from the mines of Appalachia. And the Union Busters shot at them. That's how you recognize. That's why they wore the red bandanas. Rednecks were symbolized by red bandanas around their neck. That's how they knew who they were. That's how they were able to recognize each other. That's where redneck comes from. It has nothing to do with working in the fields and have sunburn on the back of your neck. Nah, not even close. We're talking Union men from West Virginia getting shot at by Pinkerton boys in the National Guard because they dared to stand up for their workers' rights. Rednecks are labor union. They got co-opted by the cosplaying country boys, the hillbillies and backwater rubes. Rednecks, old country, old folk music. That's the sound of the working man. That's the sound, the voice of the people, the labor unions, the farmers, the people who legitimately looked after each other, who took care of each other. That's the good old days. And this still exists. We still live in the good old days. Just a bunch of people trying to tell us that that's not what they are. And they don't know. They don't know. They just don't know. It's not that they're stupid. It's just that they're ignorant. And you can fix ignorance. You can fix ignorance. But when ignorant is met with information and ignorant chooses to be ignorant, that's when you have stupid. That's when you have stupid. So there you go. Sports on spots. Smash Mouth did do a thing for Shrek. That's right. Who's Chris? I'm all about country. Who the fuck is Chris? Oh wait, is Chris Benjamin? Okay. Better. I'm totally amazed Joe's keeping up with chat. I'm on top of it, man. I'm 100% on top of it. I'm redneck solid. You get neck for mud and moonshine. Oh, that's good stuff right there. I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit that heart. What is this? Can I not have this shit? Party thing, whatever. What's that? 100. What is that? Whatever. All right. Stop. There we go. Okay. All right. I don't know what that thing is. I don't know what those hearts mean. All right. So I'm going to do some quick math. I'm looking at 1717 on the clock. So I'll call it 17.25 times 21, and that is 362 hours or minutes divided by 60. That gives me 6 hours and 300ths of an hour. 300ths of an hour would be something like, I don't even know what that is. All right, guys, it is 12:12. I'm going to make my good nights. I've caught up in chat. I've said all I want to say. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to say. What? MIC. See you real soon. Ha. KEY. Oh, what would that be? WIS. WIS. Shots are on the bar. KEY. Why? Because we love you. Whiskey in my glass. This is, by the way, the first monetized program on the Old Humble Distilling Company's channel. The first monetized live stream on the Old Humble Distilling Company's channel. That's where we're at. And I've got a pipe that I haven't lit. I've got whiskey. I've got two of the three vices. Two of the three American vices covered. Alcohol, tobacco. The only thing I'm missing is sex, and we can't do that on the YouTube. We can do alcohol and tobacco, although this is empty. There's no actual tobacco in my pipe, but it is a corncob pipe. So there's that. And I do have a proper pipe somewhere over here. Somewhere. I don't know where it's at. It might be on my bookshelf. Where is it? Yeah, it's over there on my bookshelf. And I've got some cigars over here too. So I've got all the proper tobacco covered. Even the wacky tobacco is at the distillery. Just kidding, Lisa. Don't have an aneurysm. There's no wacky tobacco here. We're all on the up and up. Nice and normal is what we are. No, none of that. Because that would be wrong. And I don't do wrong things because that's for delinquents and degenerates. And I'm not a degenerate. I'm just friends with degenerates. I'm not an actual degenerate. I do like this though. I can clamp down on this. This is a solid like plastic nib. I can clamp down on that with my teeth. I just hold it right there and not have to worry about anything. That's great. Filthy habit, kids. Don't smoke. Filthy habit. Filthy habit. Although, if you're going to smoke, a pipe is better than a cigar because a cigar can take a long time to smoke. A pipe, I mean, you can just fill up that bowl and smoke in the bowl. You're done in like 15 minutes. That cigar, man, you can suck on that cigar for like an hour. That's a commitment. A cigar is a full on commitment. A pipe, I mean that's not a huge commitment. You can half pack it. You don't even have to full pack it. You can half pack the pipe, and then you're done. And like, you can go out back, smoke the pipe for 15, 20 minutes, done. Tap it out, finished. I mean, you get a big old bag of pipe tobacco for, I don't know, $20, way cheaper. I mean, than 2 or 3 cigars. And you can't put the cigar out and come back to it later. That's not good. Cigars change their flavor over the course of the stick. It starts out with one flavor up here, and as you move down, it's a whole different flavor because the smoke goes through the cigar and it filters through the cigar. I should have my cigar guy on. I'm the kind of person that has a cigar guy. I am your whiskey guy. I am your whiskey guy, but I have a cigar guy. I have a firework guy. I have a cigar guy. I have a pipes guy. I have an other stuff guy. Daniel, he's great. Um, I have a guy for things. I even have a car guy. I have a guy who can get me a car. I need to get an RV guy. I need to get a hotel room guy. Guy who can get me hotel rooms for the cheap. That'd be dope as hell. That would be dope as hell. Oh, I see a chat came through. What's up? Barry been it's been a while since I've been back on a stream with you. Oh, it's good to have you here too, Ben. And by the way, I am going to have an open forum. When I get my new computer, I'm going to bring back the forum shows where I just like open up the forum and I do like bacon. I just like stand back and let y'all go fucking wild. I don't know how those will be monetized, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. 80s had more million contract deals with records. I don't know if they had more because, as we move forward, there's more $1 million deals, obviously. I did the Lard Butt 1K in Seattle last weekend. Huh? Was that a run? Oh, 1K. Yeah, I guess that's a run. That's not even a half a mile, is it? Or is it 1K? That's 6/10 of a mile. That's 2/3 of a mile. That's ugh. You grew up with EVH. What the fuck's EVH? What is EVH? I gotta learn how to watch my damn language on my own stream because if I'm gonna be if Geico's gonna be advertising before my stream, I gotta drop the F bomb. I gotta learn how to do that. EVH. Every evening Soul Train ended in the 90s. Late 90s when Soul Train ended. The 90s was the last great decade for music, and I will die on that hill. You will not be able to convince me otherwise because you're arguing. Oh, Eddie Van Halen. Oh, okay, gotcha. Wait, you grew up with him? You grew up like you went to school with him? You hung out with Eddie frickin' Van Halen? God rest his soul. That is dope as hell. Is that good lighting? I need proper lights. I need one here, and one back. I need like a backlight to. I need to do a lot of things. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing shows in here or if I should transition to doing shows at the distillery. I like doing my happy hour show. This is the show that started it all. The Wednesday night happy hour is the show that launched the YouTube channel back in March of 2020. This is what started it all. It started out as me and my lovely wife talking about our travels, talking about our travels on the back patio in front of the fire pit. It was a whiskey and travel show. We talked about the trips that we went on, the towns that we'd seen, the campsites that we'd been to, the KOAs, how to do camping, how we do camping, best practices, all that stuff. This is the show that started it all. And then I started bringing in interviews on Wednesday nights, and I'd bring in interviews or performers or musical artists, and that was great through the 2020s, 2020 and early 2021. when they still didn't have stages and they had time and they were able to come on the show and they were able to talk about the craft and play a couple of songs or do a little show or whatever it was. It was great. It was a lot of fun. This is the show that started. I don't want to not do this show. But practically speaking, I really should focus on some edited content. I should focus on some proper content. You know what I mean? Should work towards doing more proper content, is what I'm saying. I should work towards doing more proper content. I should look at the lamp and just talk to the lamp. Can I talk to the lamp? Does that look weird if I'm just like talking to my lamp? Because the camera's over here. Should I talk to my lamp? I don't know. I should talk to the camera because that's where you fine folks are. I should lower this down a little bit, probably. Maybe move it over here. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. I'll just sit back, lounge for a minute. So I definitely want to keep doing my happy hours because this is just a chance to sit and I give y'all an open forum. Y'all can talk. You can be wrong or dumb within reason. I mean, we're not gonna allow fascist shit. I'm not gonna allow racist shit. Greatest way to get banned from my community is come out here and be all like, "Oh, the Civil War was about states' rights." Nope, you're gone. We're not gonna endorse lies. All right, we're not gonna do that shit. We're not gonna. I'm not gonna be a forum for liars and lies. I have community standards that are stricter than community standards. But I don't want to not do this show. So we're going to keep doing this show. But I am going to try to direct some energy and some resources towards doing a forum show that I haven't done. I haven't done a lot of those because I don't like to lose control. And, when you have 6 people on forum, you lose control. But I also want to come back to doing the live music, but the live music is going to be a pay-per-view type of thing. You got to be a member to see it. It's not going to be free to the public. It's going to be members only. So if you want to watch our live performers perform live at the distillery, you've got to be a member of the channel and it'll be broadcast out that way. And then if you want to and then, more. I might keep my car rants. I might get rid of my car rants. I might keep the Old Humble rants, but I'm also going to start mixing in. I keep saying this. I want to do more whiskey content, but it's just like whiskey content's tough because I do it all the time, and I don't want to just sit back and be all like, okay, here's how you make a whiskey sour. Bloop 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 bloop. There's a whiskey sour. I mean, big like. One, I don't like making cocktails. But 2, there's plenty of other channels out there making whiskey sours and other garbage. Here's a taste test of my whiskey versus a thing. There's plenty of other channels out there doing taste tests of whiskey. I don't need to tell you that my whiskey tastes better than Kentucky whiskey. You can buy my whiskey and drink it and say, oh yeah. But of course, also, if I say my whiskey tastes better than Kentucky whiskey, I've got no authenticity because I'm biased. Of course I'm going to say my whiskey tastes better than Kentucky factory garbage because I love my whiskey. I make my whiskey. And Kentucky factory garbage is garbage, which is why it's called Kentucky factory garbage. They can't call it garbage if it's not garbage, but it's also garbage. It's generic, just whiskey. And you sit there and pay $300 for a 15-year-old bottle of Maker's Mark that's also Maker's Mark. It tastes like Maker's Mark, for crying out loud. But it's 15 years old, so it's worth $300. No, it's not. It's worth $35. It's a bottle of Maker's Mark. But you got bought. You got took by a logo. You got took by a company. You got took by some marketing. It's fine. Whatever. Make MGP into $1 billion company. Whatever. Do what you're going to do. Meanwhile, while you're out looking for Blanton's or Maker's Mark or whatever the hell else garbage you're looking for that comes out of a factory in Kentucky, there's all these local distilleries that are begging for your attention, so you should give them your attention. So anyway, there's plenty of channels out there doing that. I'm biased. I'm going to tell you that my whiskey's delicious. I'm going to tell you that Cooper family is delicious. I'm going to tell you that McNeely family whiskey is delicious. I'm going to tell you that these whiskeys are delicious, not just because they're delicious, but also because I'm biased, but also because they're delicious. But even if I'm authentically telling you I like them because I do actually like them, I'm also admittedly biased. So even if I do a review show, it has no authenticity whatsoever. So that's a challenge when it comes to uh, showcasing whiskeys. I still want to do the 50 states and 50 whiskeys thing, but I gotta like that costs money. I gotta make money to buy the whiskey. $60, $70 for whiskey every month is expensive as hell. Expensive as hell. If you're gonna do it every week and knock this out in a month, or knock this out in a year, it's gonna take a lot of money. That's expensive. So any hoodles, as they would say. Let's catch up on chat real quick. Lardbutt 1K wasn't long. That's what she said. But it was good in the sense that a good community vibe and event profits went to the District Food Bank. Maybe that's what I should do. I should do a 1K run at the distillery. Old Humble Distilling Company's 1K whiskey run, supporting the Whiskey Run movie. Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Very good, Ben. We got another Ben. Ben, do I have we're at 2249 still. We chilled in 2016. There's another name. I'm sorry, Ben. I missed that. We have another entry for the Wheel of Doom and Glory. Ben Klassen. Ben Klassen. Ben Lason. You have just been entered onto our Wheel of Doom and Glory. So you have a chance to win a sample pack of our whiskey. We're going to be doing this all through August and September. At the end of September, I will be spinning our Wheel of Doom and Glory. Everyone who has gotten into chat, you get one entry for joining us in chat, one entry for sharing one entry for sharing the live stream, and one entry per $5 super chat. So you can get 5, 10, 15, 20 entries. However many times you want to drop a super chat, for every $5 you drop, you get another name, another entry into the Wheel of Doom and Glory. And I'll be collecting these up all through August and September. So welcome to the party. Cheers. Thanks for joining us. Where else we got? We chilled in 2016 at his last show. If you're in LA, you can meet up with Wolfie. Holy crap. That sounds fun. I'm not in LA, I'm in Houston. God, that sounds like so much coolness. I mean, that might be worth doing, just making a trip to LA. But I need to sell some whiskey in LA if I'm going to go to LA. William Estimate, who's EVH, Eddie Van Halen. I wore my lard butt shirt for that event all day, and its race annoyed the heck out of some people. I thought it was good to wear because it was funny, not being overweight or really unhealthy. Whoever, but overweight was. I know about it firsthand, but overweight has ruined my health. Those are some of the worst bands of the 90s. Oh, what are some of the worst bands of the 90s? Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of terrible ones. I mean, there were. I mean, and some of the best ones also made terrible music, like Smash Mouth. Um, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, son, because I'm not. I'm less familiar with the bad ones than I am with the good ones because I still listen to the good ones. I'm still waiting until I'm dying, so kind of sad, but kind of real important message. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm overweight, and I know I'm dying. I need to get my shit under control. I need to drop 50 pounds. I really do, but I also don't want to. So there's that. I don't want to go out and ride my bike 20 miles and feel miserable. I don't want to do sit-ups and push-ups and be sore. I just don't want to. He's really overweight. People to go outside, do something with kind of another one himself. Yeah, yeah. It was a charity event. How long have we known? How long have we known each other, son? I would say 2003 or 2007. I think is or 2000. Shit, 2020. I think is when we first came in contact with each other on the YouTubes. 3 years is my hunch, if I had to guess. Last I weighed myself was at 258. Uh, yeesh. I'm at 246 last time I weighed myself. But that's been a week or so. Oh my God. I had a steak and potatoes today. I had a whole fucking pound of steak. It was a T-bone steak. I've been wanting to have a steak for weeks, but the kids were still out of school in summertime, and I couldn't just go to the store and buy a steak and eat the steak. But man, I got that steak today. Salt and pepper seasoned it, put it on the skillet, pan fried that. God, it was delicious. Steak and potatoes for lunch. Oh, I was in heaven. Absolute heaven. And then dinner was spaghetti and meatballs. I ate so much food today. I must have eaten 4 pounds of food today. Ugh. I'm going to take a dump that is just like epic. Anyway. Son, good night. Cheers. Streaming makes you happy, do it. I agree. Thank you. Who says I need proper content? I says I need proper content. I needs proper content. I want good quality content that helps promote my brand. That's the whole point of having my YouTube channel is promoting my brand. I mean, I'm not doing this for charity. I'm not doing this to entertain myself. I'm doing it to promote my damn brand. See, we're going to be on a road show. This is where you can buy it. I'm doing it to promote my brand. 100% doing it to promote my brand. I am a distiller, a small business owner with a YouTube channel. I'm not a YouTuber with a small business. Friends that go live. How's Lisa been? Oh, she's doing great. She's got a boyfriend, and she's she's working. She's busy. She's just got shit to do. She's just got stuff, Headed out to Tacoma for Summer Jam. VW Auto Vent. I came across a really healthy woman sitting in a VW. She must have been around a half 1,000 pounds. Golly. I am almost certainly going to keep the rants because I like them. I come home from the distillery. I've got I'm trying to keep them unique and interesting and different. It's just whatever's on my mind. It's a quick little 3 minutes. Not a whole lot of effort. Not a whole lot of involvement necessary on your quick 3 minutes in and out, done and done. And I get 2 important messages across. I am the Old Humble guy with the Old Humble Distilling Company. You can find our whiskey on oldhumbledistilling.com/shop online. 34 states delivered to your door. You get 2 bottles, have it delivered for no shipping cost with use term code Make It Free. But that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then I end it with, and don't forget, enjoy your whiskey however you want to. Bye! 2 important messages. Who I am and what we do, and enjoy your whiskey however you want to enjoy it. That's what's important. So not much came of it after a few uncomfortable words, but damn, she didn't want to think I came to Summer Jam in Tacoma outside of the LMA Museum just to tease it. Oh, with the lard butt shirt. Gotcha. I still want to do that, son. I still want to do the 50 states of whiskey, United States of whiskey. I still want to do that. I want to talk to 50 distilleries in 50 states and do that. But like I was saying earlier, that costs money. That costs money. It's going to take time. I could do it over the course of 4 years. I could do 1 distillery a month over the course of 4.5 years. But again, takes money, takes time. It's going to be tough keeping my live schedule, just doing it once a week on Wednesdays through the month of September, because I'm going to be on the road for 3 solid weeks in September. I'm going to be exhausted at the end of September. It's a big push. The last month before our OND season is what it's called, October, November, December. Usually retailers will put in one more order in early part of September, middle part of September. And I'm making a big push in September to sell out the stores, get them down to the rafters, so that they have to replenish our stock and get us back on the shelves. I'm going to have 140 cases of our rye and 70 cases each of our straight whiskey and special reserve, and 60 or 70 cases of our Boomtown bourbon ready to go. And I need to get that stuff sold. Need to get it sold. Anywho, let me do some quick math. What time is it? 7:30 or 12:37, 12:40. Okay, it really is time for me to call this. 19.25 times 23, 442 divided by 6 divided by 10, 7.5 hours, a third hours. All right, guys, I am calling it. I'm running out of juice. I'm running out of steam. I still need to brush my teeth, wash my hair, do all the things I need to do before I go to bed. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, it is 12:30. It is 12:30. I have been your gracious and loving host. I'm the Old Humble Guy. This has been the Old Humble Distilling Company's Happy Hour. We're at 2,249 subscribers. Is it too much to ask to get one more damn subscriber before I log off the show? Is it too much to ask? Yes, it is. Because I cannot sit here for indefinite amount of time waiting for that last subscriber to join in. We do have to wrap this up at some point. Is my logo over there? Yeah, I don't want to hide the logo. Let's go below the logo. But I will be back next week. I will be back sometime between this week and next week with a live from the distillery. It'll be early in the day. Because it's actually tolerable. The weather's tolerable before noon. After noon, it gets unconscionably hot. So don't expect to see me afternoon if you want to tune in live for a day in the life. But keep your eyes open for videos. Hit the like, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any cool content coming from us over the course of the next several weeks. We've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on. A lot of stuff that we're working on, especially the whiskey, the actual whiskey content that goes in the bottles. We're working on that, but also whiskey content for the show, for the channel itself. I've got a lot of things that I really want to try and do. We've got our space whiskey coming up next summer. We've got the Whiskey Run movie that we're working on. We've got interviews. We've got just a crap ton of things. Then we're probably going to do another 72-hour special, or at least a 24-hour special, where we try and run for 24 hours. Well, what is it? 10 hours at a time? We can go 10 hours at a time. Maybe I'll do a 100-hour special. 10 days, 10 hours, 10 hours a day for 10 days. And we'll do it from the distillery with the build out. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do a build out special where I show up at the shop and we work on the tasting room. Spend 100 hours on the build out, 100-hour special. That's a real possibility, actually. That's a real thing that might happen. A very real possibility. 10 days, 10 hours a day, do the build out, build us a tasting room. But I got to get the electricians in there, and they don't need to be on camera because I'm not going to do the electrician work. I'm not an electrician. That would be stupid. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, I have been, and will continue to be the Old Humble Guy, your humble host, the host with the most whiskey. Cheers to all you fine folks out there. Continue to be awesome to each other. May the road may the road rise to meet your feet, the wind always be at your back, and the lips you kiss always be as sweet as honey. Cheers to all you fine folks. Good night, and bottoms up. Oh, wait, where's the button I need to push? There it is. Good night, and bottoms up.